A government with trillions in debt, still borrowing more. Not next year, not next decade, right now. The United States owes more than $34 trillion. Japan owes more than twice the size of its entire economy. Many countries are drowning in debt, and yet every year they borrow even more. At first glance, it feels insane. If you were already buried in debt, the bank wouldn't hand you another loan. So why do governments keep doing it? Why do lenders keep saying yes? And the more uncomfortable question, what happens when the math finally stops working? To understand this, we need to step inside the strange world of government debt. Because the system doesn't behave the way most people think. When a government spends more money than it collects in taxes, it runs a deficit. To cover that gap, it borrows. Not from one giant bank, but from thousands of investors around the world. Pension funds, banks, insurance companies, foreign governments, even ordinary people. They buy something called government bonds. A bond is basically an IOU. You give the government money today, and in return, the government promises to pay you back later, with interest. Simple enough. But here's where the system starts getting strange. When a bond matures, the government usually doesn't pay it off with saved money. Instead, it issues new bonds, and uses that new borrowed money to pay the old debt. It's a constant rollover. Old debt gets replaced by new debt. Again, and again, and again. This sounds suspiciously like a household using one credit card to pay another. Except governments operate on a completely different scale. Because governments control something households never can: time. And the economy itself. Imagine a country with a growing economy. Businesses expand, workers earn more, tax revenue increases. If the economy grows faster than the debt, the burden actually becomes smaller over time. A $1 trillion debt sounds terrifying. But if the economy grows from $5 trillion to $10 trillion, that same debt suddenly looks less dangerous. Growth quietly absorbs it. This is the first hidden mechanism that keeps the system running. Governments are not trying to eliminate debt. They are trying to manage it relative to the size of the economy. But that still doesn't explain why borrowing keeps accelerating. For that, we need to look at something else. Modern governments are responsible for more than just basic services. They fund healthcare systems, military budgets, infrastructure, social security, economic stimulus during recessions, disaster relief, pandemic responses. Every crisis adds another layer of spending. And politically, raising taxes is painful. Cutting benefits is even worse. Borrowing, on the other hand, feels almost invisible. The cost is pushed into the future. Future politicians, future taxpayers, future problems. So, year after year, borrowing becomes the easiest political option. But there is another force quietly encouraging it: interest rates. When interest rates are low, borrowing becomes incredibly cheap. If a government can borrow billions at 2% interest while its economy grows at 4%, the math actually works in its favor. Debt grows slowly, the economy grows faster. For decades, this environment allowed governments to borrow comfortably. In fact, global investors were desperate to buy government bonds because they are considered one of the safest assets in the world. Think about it. A company can go bankrupt, a bank can collapse, but a government, especially a powerful one, is expected to keep paying. That belief is what holds the entire system together. Trust. As long as investors trust that a government will repay its debt, the borrowing machine keeps running. But this trust hides a quieter reality. Debt doesn't disappear. It compounds. Interest payments grow every year. At some point, a strange tipping point appears. More and more government spending goes toward paying interest, not services, not roads, not schools, just the cost of past borrowing. In the United States, interest payments on the national debt are now one of the fastest growing parts of the federal budget.